You are here today for the webinar, Building Your Brand. Again, it's being hosted by SCORE Southeast New Jersey, and it is being presented by Wendy Price, Director of Sales for Press Communications LLC. Wendy, and as we've mentioned, Wendy is the Director of Sales for Press Communications. Wendy, you can share your screen and take the presentation over.
Okay. Oh, says you cannot start screen share while the other participant is sharing. So you have to unshare. There we go. Okay. There we go. How's that? Can you see that? Did that come up, Tony? Tony, can you see my screen? I guess I'll ask in the chat. Let me know if you guys can see that the screen.
Wendy, we're
there.
not hearing you.
Oh, here we go. Oh. How about now?
Did you mute yourself?
Nope. How about now?
Okay, we are having a little bit of technical difficulty. I can't hear Wendy, unfortunately.
How about now? Yes or no?
We crashed. Yes, jump out and jump back in. Okay, so Wendy's going to leave and come back in, try to see if we can fix our audio problem.
How about now?
I can see you, but I can't hear you. Wendy, it seems like you're muted right now.
How about now?
I can't hear you well. I can hear a little bit. This was working fine before.
Yeah, it was working fine 2 minutes ago, Tony. I don't know. It may only be Tony, it says. Somebody said. Why don't you try to mute, Tony? Let's see if that works.
The participants say they're hearing you, but I'm not. So if you want to proceed, go ahead and I'll follow along in the chat.
Okay, let's try that. Let me get my screen back up here. Okay. Can somebody just let me know that they can hear me and that they can see the screen? And then I'll get started. I'm watching the chat. Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. Sorry for the technical difficulty. As Tony mentioned, my name is Wendy. I work for Press Communications, and I'm just going to give you a couple quick bullet points of, how it is that I'm here today and why I can offer you, some tidbits of information about branding and marketing. So the company that I work for is called Press Communications. We're a multimedia company. Primarily, we're a radio and broadcast media company, but we are also, I like to say we're a three-pronged company. We're also a digital solutions company. So we do everything that you could imagine in the digital space, from foundational things like building websites all the way up to everything that you'd want to do online in terms of buying advertising. And we're also in the event marketing business. So our company is over 125 years old, been in the market for that long. Press used to own the Asbury Park Press back in the day, and in the 90s sold it to Gannett. And we're in the broadcast business, as I mentioned before. So I am really here today just to share some insights on branding and marketing from my 30 plus years of doing this. It's crazy that it's been that long, but I love what I do. And so hopefully that makes the time go by fast. And I'm here to hopefully help you to avoid a mistake that I see new entrepreneurs make time and time again, which is leaving marketing and branding out of your budget when you build your business. So I want to, I hope what I can impart on you today is how important it is to make that a part of the plan from the start. And, hopefully this will set you on a path that is helpful to you in building your business. So the big question is, what is branding? What does that even mean? And why is it so darn important? And I think it's essential. It's not just important, it's essential. So the actual definition of branding from the Merriam-Webster dictionary means the promoting of a product or service by identifying it with a particular brand. So, and of course, your brand is literally your image, your sound, your product that you're selling. Okay, your identifying mark. You can think of it in any of those ways. So what I like to start off with is a concept called mind share, or top of mind awareness. And the exercise that I ask everybody to do is to, not this kind of exercise, don't move your arms, but use your brain and pick a category of business and then ask yourself what business names or brands come up first in your mind, in the top of your mind when you think of that category. So the kind of the easiest, most obvious one is soft drinks. If you think about soft drinks, immediately a name comes to your mind. And my guess that it is probably Coke or it is probably Pepsi. It is one of those two things that come to mind first. And then after that, you probably can name a few other brands too. Some of them are probably owned by Coke or Pepsi, but Coke usually comes up first and then Pepsi second, or vice versa. And then everything else comes after that. It's the same thing with fast food restaurants. What do you think of first? McDonald's. Everybody thinks of McDonald's first. And then you think of Burger King and Wendy's. And then you start thinking of everybody else, Chick-fil-A and Taco Bell and whoever else it is. So all of those brands own a mind share. They own a piece of your mind. They come to mind first when you think of them. One of them rises to the top and is the first thing that you think of. That's top of mind awareness. As marketers, I think we always want our business to earn a place on that ladder, if you want to think of it that way. You want to be on the list. You want to be one of the brands that somebody thinks of when they think of your category of business. Better yet, you want to be first on the list. That's the top of mind awareness. That's the cream of the crop. If you can earn that, then you're in a great position. You're getting the call first before anybody else. So a few years ago, my company, Press, hired a research company named Troy Research, and they did a survey for us in the Monmouth and Ocean market, because that's our home to market. And what they did was they surveyed, I think it was about 3,000 people, and they gave them, it was 30 categories of business, and asked them to name the company that came to mind first with each of those categories of business. And it was everything from telecom to your cell phone service to where you buy your cars, a car dealership, to, plumbing and heating and cooling. It ran the gamut, 30 major categories. And there were a couple of really interesting tidbits that came out of that I think are super applicable here. What Troy found was that when purchases are made locally, customers are spending money with brands that they know and that they trust, and that also come to mind quickly. Now, there's always an off chance that a brand could come to mind quickly, but for a negative reason, because maybe they had some bad press, some bad exposure. But for the most part, when a brand comes to mind first, it's for a good reason. It's because people have heard of it and they've heard of it favorably. So the quote really that is the takeaway is, if I have a positive feeling about your brand and you come to mind first, it's very predictable that you'll get my business at some point in the future. Maybe not today, because maybe I don't have a need today, but down the road, when I'm ready for whatever it is that you're selling, I'm coming to you because I'm thinking of you first. And, you might say, well, okay, again, where they've heard of you, you're coming to mind first. How is that? How have they heard of you? They've heard of your company somewhere, somehow. A lot of times the consumer can't even put their finger on exactly how they've heard of it. I always say that marketing works best as an ecosystem. And what I mean by that is that it would be self-serving for me to say with what I do for a living that, it all comes from one place. But the fact of the matter is that the best marketing strategies are ones that are multifaceted and have a lot of moving parts to them. So I saw it here, I heard it here, I got served an ad here, somebody that I know mentioned it, I read a review online that was positive. All these things are, maybe a press release got sent out about something great that company did for the community. All those things are part of the ecosystem and they all work together. And that's part of building a brand, is that, you've got all these different things working in unison to move your company's name up that ladder in that person's mind, to build up your company in that person's top of mind awareness. And again, when customers need or want something, the company top of mind is first in line to win the business. Like I said before, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, could be in 6 months, could be in a year. But if I'm hearing your name and I know who you are and I'm seeing your brand places and that messaging is leaving a positive mark on me, then eventually I'm going to need you or I'm going to need your category of business, and I'm coming to you because you're the company I'm thinking of first. Again, this is kind of saying the same thing in a slightly different way, but the best known products or services that come to mind first get the business most often and are the most successful, period. Yes, there are always exceptions here and there, but by and large, if you're coming to mind first, you're the best known, then you're the one who's getting my business. You're winning the business. Products are made in a factory, but brands are created in the mind. And that quote is from a branding pioneer. His name is Walter Landor. So, the quote resonates for me because it's built in the mind. It's top of mind awareness. You'll keep hearing me say that phrase. So we talked about branding and what it is to brand, but now I want to just talk about why it's important to brand right now. And I think there's probably some people on the Zoom call here who are maybe at different stages in their business. Maybe you haven't quite got it started yet. Maybe you're just building your plan now, or maybe you're in the early stages of business, or perhaps you're further on in your, in the growth of your company. There are different reasons to brand at different times. So I want to talk about why we brand right now, and then I'm going to talk about how we can do that, how we can brand. So why branding right now? If you're a new company and you have no top of mind awareness, you have no you have no position in the consumer's mind, you need to start right away. It takes a long time to brand. This is a long-term play. It's not a quick fix. And time time is of the essence. Like every day that you wait, every moment that you wait is a day wasted. You need to get started right away and start letting people hear your name, let them hear your message, let them see your logo, let them know what you're all about, maybe what your corporate mission is. So you have to start right away. You may be a brand that has been out there for a while. Maybe you've been in the marketplace for a while, you've been in business for some time, but you're not in the number one top position. You don't own the top of mind awareness. That means that your company has room for improvement there, that you can improve your positioning. So again, don't waste any time. Get started right away. I always use Wawa as a great example. Where was Wawa 20 years ago, right? Where were they 25 years ago? They might have had a few locations here and there. They didn't have the brand recognition that they have now. Now everybody knows that they can go to Wawa in the morning, gas up their car, get a coffee, and get a sizzly. That sounds really good, doesn't it? And then the other big thing that Wawa has done a fantastic job branding is Hoagie Fest, right? We all know what Hoagie Fest is. That didn't happen overnight. It took them years and years to do that. That was consistent, strategic planning over, that's the long game. That's the definition of it. Over many, many years, branding, sticking with their strategy, sure, making tweaks and changes along the way, but having a long-term goal and strategy and running with it over a long period of time. And they've done a great job with it. They're a great example of how that branding has run parallel with their success. Look at where they were 20 or 25 years ago and how they've grown exponentially over that's not really that long of a period of time. So they're a great example of a branding success. So if you're them and you own that position, that you're the first one I think of, guess what? You have to keep it, because competition is always coming up and nipping at your heels. And there are other places where you can get coffee, and there's Dunkin' Donuts, and there's Starbucks, and there's, Quick Check, and there's everybody else that is in that space too. And they're nipping at your heels, always trying to win a little market share from you, get an edge on you, and inch closer. If you don't have any position yet, your goal doesn't have to be to go from 0 to 100. You don't have to go right to your goal today doesn't have to be number one. Your goal today maybe is to be number 5. Eat the elephant one bite at a time. Your goal is to win a place in the consumer's mind, to be one of the brands that's on the list that I am going to think of when I'm ready to buy this product or service. And then once you get on the list and you're 5th or 6th or 7th, then you worry about moving up a rung and moving up another, get another step up on the ladder. Take each of those opportunities as they come and go at them one at a time. And eventually you will find that you're inching your way up the ladder and that you're getting closer to that number one position. So if you're there, great. You've got to hold on to it. If you're not there, there's room for improvement, and we can, you need to try to gain more market share and grow your company that way. A couple of other just things to keep in mind that make branding relevant for most companies at any time. Consumers, they want to hear from you. They like to hear from brands. Just an example, Nielsen tells us that 55% of consumers they want to hear from companies about their social responsibility, and they will spend money with companies that they think are socially responsible. That's just one example. Social responsibility is one example of the ways that consumers like to hear from you, but they like to know that. They like to know about what special offers and discounts that you have and ways that you're different from your competition. Those are all ways that you can win their business. I always say that there is pent-up demand in the marketplace somewhere. I mean, look at the automotive industry and what that industry has been going through the last few years, and they are still in a supply problem. Some brands are getting better and starting to see some inventory on their lots, but everything that I read, and again, I read an article as recently as this morning about it, and they were saying that for some brands, the inventory has improved, but it's still half of what it was in 2019. So, and being half of 2019 is a huge improvement on where it was a year ago, a year and a half ago. So they have a long way to go, and it's a great it's just a great example of how there is some pent up demand still in that business, because if you want to buy a car, you're probably going to have to order that car. If you're buying a used car, you have to pretty much accept, actually not just with used, a lot of times with new as well, that you're probably going to have to pay a little more, maybe a lot more than you would have paid just a couple of years ago because of that supply issue. So there's pent up demand in some categories, and that's an opportunity to take the business. And then the other thing I'm going to say is that the market, I think, continues to boom. Our Jersey Shore area, if you want to call it that, the Jersey coast, continues to be a thriving area. And I'll tell you guys that when I'm working with a business, I tell them to turn off the news. Do not watch the news. All of that doom and gloom, fine. I get what's going on in the macroeconomics, but look at what's going on in this market. You know what? My husband and I go out to dinner and the restaurants are full. They're, you're waiting to get seated, or maybe you can't get seated at all. Concerts are selling out. Those two things especially tell me that there's still discretionary income, a lot of it in this market, despite what might be going on with, whatever you want to call it, recession, or, a suppressed market, or whatever words you want to use to describe it. People are still out there spending money. They're still doing home projects. They're still going out to eat. They're still going out for entertainment. And there is still an influx happening post-COVID from people that have moved out of the metros and come, into the suburbs. And, that's where we live. There are a lot of new residents in the area, and that means more people that are here that need stuff. So I just encourage you all not to, kind of fall down that rabbit hole of what you hear in the news. I mean, negative news sells, but the proof is in the pudding. And when you drive around, there are a lot of cars on the road, and there's a lot of commerce being had in our market. So that's all positive stuff. And it just, again, points back to why it's important to brand now. Do not delay. Every day that you wait is a day that's wasted. Okay. So we talked about what branding is. We talked about why it's important to do it now. Now I want to talk about really a few steps that you can start to think of if you want to try to build your branding plan and your marketing plan. And I'm using those two words sort of interchangeably as though they're one and the same, because they really do go hand in hand. Every time that you are out marketing your business, you are building your brand and you're talking to people about who you are. So first, and Tony, this kind of ties into what we were talking about at the beginning before we started the webinar about the digital presentation that you were looking at, and how that was talking about, figuring out what your product or service is that you want to promote and honing in on that. So I'm saying, really similar things here. The first thing that you want to do is focus on getting to the customers who are most open to purchasing whatever it is that you want to buy. And I kind of call that the low-hanging fruit. That makes it sound like it's so easy. And I know it's not always so easy, but you want to focus on what product or service it is that you want to sell. What is your priority? And I'm going to say that that's not necessarily, if you've been in business for a while, you might be having success with a whole different product or service. Something else may have been your focus up until now, but you've got this new product or service that's coming out, or a new direction that you want to take your company in. And so that is your priority, perhaps moving forward. So it's not so much about what you're doing now or what you've done before, but what you want that product or service to be that you are going to be promoting. So identify what it is, and then identify who's going to buy it. What's the demographic or the target audience, target customer, let's say, for that product or service that you now want to focus in on. And then again, the thing that goes hand in hand with that is the timing, because you may have a product or service that has some seasonality to it. It may be that they only buy this in the springtime, or that the springtime is your big season, or perhaps it's a year-round product or service, or maybe you're focusing on June because June is when your new product is going to launch. there is a timing always that is involved. So identifying what it is that you want to sell now, who's going to buy it, and when they're going to buy it. So that's first and foremost. Once you've done that, now you have a direction, you know what you're after. From there, it's about building your message, asking yourself what your message is going to be, how you will communicate that to your audience. Those two things are kind of the foundation for your branding strategy or your marketing strategy. Once you have that, you are going to identify your company's unique value proposition. And what I mean by that is you have differentiators. There are things about your company and what you provide that are different than your competitors. So unless you're in a unique position where you have no competitors, and I guess that's possible, but if you're in a unique position where you have no competitors, then you probably have a situation where you have to educate the public about what it is that you have. And there's a unique value proposition there. If that's not the case, as I said, then most likely you have competitors. What makes you different? What separates you and your company apart from them? And it's not like, family owned and operated for 50 years. That's not the unique value proposition. It's something else that sets you apart, that makes people want to work with you. So identifying what that is, and then creating a positioning statement around that is meaningful and memorable. And that is much easier said than done. A lot of times you'll see a brand and you'll see maybe their logo and then a tagline with it. That's part of what I'm talking about. It's not just about the logo that says, what your company's name is, but it's about how you position your company. And that, that little tagline that you put with your logo, and maybe that you put on any advertising that you might do, that's a big part of your branding. That's an opportunity for you to communicate your unique value proposition. So coming up with that meaningful, memorable tag or positioning statement that follows you everywhere you go, that's on everything that you do. And the most important part about making it meaningful and memorable is making it so that it truly speaks to your target audience. So then once you do that, then it's about coming up with what is going to be your call to action. So branding can be general awareness for your company. And then there also can be a component of that in your marketing that is call to action, and that is designed to get people to respond to you immediately. They can go hand in hand. So you don't have to have a call to action, but we're going to talk in a minute about paid versus earned branding. And if you're paying for it, if it's paid branding, I'll encourage you to make sure that you have a call to action there, something that's getting people to call now, to not wait. And that could be some sort of incentive, limited time offer, or whatever. We can talk about what that needs to look like if you'd like with me. But there are some things that really resonate with people and make the phone ring or make the clicks come through. Whatever is your key performance indicator, meaning whatever it is that lets you know that customers are coming in. It might be that you need them to call you. It might mean that they need to go to your website and fill out a form. But there's something that they will do for you that lets you know that this is a lead coming in. And there are calls to action that you can create to make that action happen, whatever it is, whether it's, like I said, making the phone ring or making someone fill out a form or making them stop in your showroom, whatever that is. And then the last thing I'll say about this is don't be afraid to lean on the pros. I mean, that's what I do. I've been doing it a long time. I'm not the only one out there that does it. There's a lot of people out there that are in the marketing space, a lot of really smart and creative people. Don't be afraid to lean on a pro or a team of pros for help with creating engaging content and engaging ads that will make the phone ring for you, or like I said, whatever the action is. You don't have to spend a lot of money at the beginning of your venture on bringing in a marketing director and a marketing team, although I think that's a great idea if you have the wherewithal to do it. But if you don't, there are people that will help you put those programs together for you without you having to hire a full-time person initially. Hopefully your business grows and you get there where you need that person, and that is a full-time job, managing your brand and managing all the great things that you're doing to bring in customers and to bring leads into your organization. But certainly at the beginning, there are people that can help you develop that plan. There's a lot of us out there. So again, if you need help with that, that's what we're here for. So feel free to engage with those people to help you get that plan going for you. So I mentioned before about purchased and earned media and how you get that. I will say that it's a really big mistake to only lean on one, to only count on purchased media by itself, or to only count on earned media by itself to get you where you want to go and to build your brand. So here's what I mean by that. Purchased is just what it sounds like, right? That's that you went out and you deliberately bought ad space or, a sponsorship or something like that with the intention to let people know about you. Earned is the one that is a little less obvious. Earned are all the ways that people are talking about you that you didn't actually have to go pay for in an ad. So that could be that your company does a food drive and you put out a press release about that, and you get on social media and you do some nice posts about it, and then some people share it, and then you have a charity that ties in with it and you tag them on it, and then they share it, and all things like that. Our community outreach, going to joining a chamber of commerce, being a part of that, or being a part of a tip group, or a Rotary Club organization like that. Those kinds of exposures, if you want to think of it that way, those are what I would call earned exposures, meaning you didn't have to go and plunk down some money to pay for an ad campaign to make that happen. But it's part of, again, I mentioned ecosystem before. It's part of the ecosystem. You need that as well. So you need the other side of it is that sometimes I'll see people that are only, I say, how do you get customers? How do you get new business? Oh, we're all word of mouth. Okay, if you want to roll the dice and count on that, but that's not enough by itself, especially today in today's marketplace and how competitive it is. You don't want to only count on the exposure that you get off of the good grace of others. That's part of it. You want to go after that. You want to get those exposures. You want to put your face and your company's face out in the community. That's part of building your brand. Balance that with a healthy paid marketing campaign. The two will work hand in hand. So when it comes to both your paid and earned, but I guess I'm mostly talking about paid now, consider some standout tactics. So I'll give you just a couple of examples. Musical imaging, which is a jingle. Think about tying in a jingle. Everybody knows the Liberty Mutual jingle. We can't get it out of our heads, right? Liberty, 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 right? So they're doing a great job branding that jingle. Think about personality endorsements or influencer campaigns. Influencer campaigns aren't just for big, huge brands with huge celebrities that are dealing in millions and multi-millions and billions of dollars. Where there are ways to do it on a local level that still resonate. So that's an option for you. You can align, as I mentioned before, you can align with causes, and I would always recommend find a cause that is near and dear to your heart, that you have a personal passion for, and align with that organization. Do good deeds in your community to help that organization or that cause to fundraise for them, or to get to get name awareness for that cause, whatever it is, and help move their initiative forward. That will come back to you in the positive every time, because frankly, that's God's work, right? You're giving back to the community. You're giving back to a cause that is important to you. And if And if it's one that you've chosen and that is important to you, you'll have the passion for it. And, you'll be able to do that good work, and that will come back to you. So not only are you helping an organization, but you'll get something out of it in the end. Think about special co-branding opportunities. That could mean naming rights to something. That could be, having a high-level sponsorship to an event, something like that. Sometimes I do my reading in the early morning. So I've referenced like 3 things that I read this morning. But this morning I was reading an article about something called sonic branding. That's a new term that I had never heard of. And that is combining speaking voice with sound or sound effects and music to create an audio thumbprint in the consumer's mind. So it's like taking jingles and taking it a step beyond that and creating a whole look and sound, so that when you see the Dorito commercial where they chomp the Dorito, you hear that and you think of that brand. It really, for me, I think that's interesting stuff. So that's sort of next level. You don't have to go there right now, but I thought that was an interesting extension of what we're all talking about. As I said, marketing is definitely an ecosystem. It's a lot of different things working hand in hand, working in unison. So try to build a comprehensive, diverse plan with a really, with a media mix. I mean, I work in the radio business. I love to tell everybody to spend every dollar in radio, but the reality of it is, what works best is, as I said before, I heard it here, I saw it there, I got this, I got that. It's hitting you in all different ways. That's really what resonates. So one of the ways that I like to describe it, that is a good way to think about it, is that there are certain medias that are mass reach mediums, like radio and TV and outdoor, which is, big billboards and things like that, where, you see a printed image on a big sign outdoors. That works very well hand in hand with targeted tactics like digital. So there are ways to combine those two so that you're really getting your brand out to the masses, so that you're building that brand awareness with them, and then drilling down and targeting to a person that is ready to purchase now, or is, in that most likely to buy bucket. And again, save precious time and heartache, consult with the experts, get people to help you, that work for different media companies. They can help you with category research, market research. They can give you info on trends, consumer buying habits. That's part of what we all do. We're in service to help you figure out what the right plan is for you. So lean on all, people like that to people like me, not necessarily me, but lean on those industry experts to help you with all of that. So this is the really hard part. You have to commit to a budget. You have to build this into your business plan and into your budget. It is as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, it's a huge mistake that I see a lot of companies make. And I get how and why it happens. You have this dream that you're going to open this business, and maybe you have a certain amount of money that you're working with, and then it goes off the rails a little bit and things are more expensive than you imagined, and it takes longer to get your permits. And I know all of those things happen. I understand the reality of that, but you will be so much better off if you're able to allocate some dollars and do it as a monthly budget. Work a number into your monthly plan that is affordable for you so that you can get started, because it's so important, as I said again at the beginning of the presentation, to just get started. You don't want to let time go by and say, well, I'm going to spend year 1 getting established, and then I'm going to bring marketing in later on. I'm going to add that to the mix later. I'm a big proponent of crawling, I should say, before you walk, before you run. But that doesn't mean that you should leave marketing out of the mix. You need to include it, even if it's in a small way, early on. And then you can grow your marketing budget as your company grows. But don't leave it out, because it's kind of like the kid that graduates high school and says they're going to take a year off and go backpacking in Europe. And then they're going to come back and they're going to go to college. A lot of times people don't do it. They never make their way back to it. You don't want 1 year to turn into 5 years to turn into 10 years. And now all that time has gone by that you could have been building your brand and building your Wawa, and you didn't do it. You know, you've let all that time go by. So build it into your budget, build in what you can afford, start small, and then you can build it as you go. I am always looking at the research because a lot of companies ask me, well, how much should I allocate? And like I said, I've researched it and looked at a lot of different sources to see what the number is. The number that seems to, or the range that seems to resonate the most is 7 to 8% of your gross sales for businesses that are established. I read some things that say for, you know, that for new brands or new businesses, the number should be more of 10 to 20%. I know that that's a lot. I'm just really sharing with you what I have seen and what I have read. And I've seen both of those statistics in a lot of different sources. So I think that that's generally the case. Sometimes an organization will, you know, they'll have the backing, the financial backing, and they'll have the money to do it. And then they go big out of the gate because they really want to make a splash. I know the reality for small business owner is not always that, and that you can't make a big splash. But like I said, work your budget, work your numbers, and start out somewhere. Allocate something. I don't care if it's $1,000 a month or if it's $500 a month. Allocate something to start off. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I think you can go a lot further with maybe a little bit more money than that, but don't leave it out and say, I don't have enough, so I can't do anything. Oh, there's always something that can be done to get the ball rolling. And then maybe that's part of a plan where you go, okay, I'm going to start here. And then in 6 months, I'm going to move to this. And I think about my financial planner and what he's worked on with me in terms of my savings for retirement. And, you know, we started out taking, you know, this much out of every paycheck. And then when I got comfortable with that, we moved it up a little bit more. And then when I got comfortable with that, we moved it up a little bit more. And, you know, we're chipping away at that and trying to build that nest egg in that way. But doing it in increments so that it's not overwhelming. You know, if we would have started out with where I'm at now, I would have been like, oh my God, I can't fit that into my budget. I can't do that. But we started out smaller with a number I was comfortable with, and we built into that. So that's what I would suggest there. But you really do need to start somewhere and allocate something. So I'm a big Winnie the Pooh fan. You don't know that about me, but I'm a huge Pooh fan. So here's my quote from A.A. Milne. You can't stay in your corner of the forest waiting for others to come to you. You have to go to them sometimes. So that's really what this is all about. You have to reach out to your target customer, and you have to speak to them and tell them who you are, what you have, what your unique proposition is. Let them know who you are and how you're different. Let them know what you have and why they should buy now. Or build the brand in their mind so that when they're ready, they're thinking of you first. Like I said, you want to be on the ladder. You don't have to be at the top of the ladder. You don't have to be the first name, but you need to be on the list of people that they think of that they want to call. And then once you do that, you can climb your way up and you can get a little bit better as you go and grow your brand awareness to top of mind. And then you could become the Wawa or the McDonald's or the Coke, whatever it is. You can get there eventually, but you have to start somewhere.
Thank you so much, Wendy. That was great. So we have a little bit of more time, and we can open that up to Q&A. And if you would please put your questions in the chat room, we will answer them from there.
I am going to unshare my screen. My email is there if anybody has any more questions for me. Please email to marketing@presscommradio.com.
If you would